everybody. Happy Friday. We've got some sound effects up all in this show. That's exciting. That's exactly what we are talking about today. It is how to look and sound great from your home office, from your home studio. I mean, COVID has changed so much of how we do business, especially as coaches, right? So our show, we specifically speak to coaches, but if you're an expert of some sort, if you're a speaker, coach, author, right, some sort of expert trainer, consultant, then this is going to be powerful for you. And maybe you have seen people's backgrounds, you've seen their setup, and you've thought like, that looks really good. How do I get my experience, my branded experience looking like that? And we have an expert today that is going to be talking about that exactly and walking us through how there is a little bit of an echo. Again, I don't know if we can fix it. So we're going to be walking through how to make sure that you have what you need to know to make sure that that you set up a beautiful environment, a great environment, both in terms of audio and visual. So maybe you've wondered like, what mic should I have? You've wondered what cameras, etc. And you'll be wondering no more. And if you're catching this live, hashtag live in the comments. Okay, and I'm going to make sure here that I can see you guys. So if you guys have questions, that we'll be able to capture those questions. So welcome to the show, Andrew. I know him as DJ Drew. And we actually have known each other and been in like the coaching space for almost a decade since I joined this program a long time ago. And so as long as I've known him, he's been in this space. He's a master of this space and he creates masterful experiences for the coaches that he works with. And again, welcome to the High Ticket Coach Mastery Show, where we guide you on how to build, brand, market, and sell your high ticket programs, packages as a coach. And Drew is actually one of our clients that we're very proud of the work that he's doing. Okay, so Drew is an absolute rock star. So let me read a little introduction here because he has done incredible work. I want to make sure that we get it right. So you've been in this space for over 15 years, which is incredible. Let me pull up your intro. Okay, so DJ Drew, Andrew, has been working in the AV industry for over 15 years, from volunteering at a grassroots church to contracting with billion-dollar corporations. DJ Drew, it just takes me back to being on stage when we were working together. DJ Drew, hit that thing. DJ Drew has seen it all, guys. Because of his incredible skill set, he has helped clients create 6 and 7 figures in a weekend, including multiple 6-figure virtual events. If you guys have questions about virtual events, we're going to be talking about that as well. What sets Drew apart, DJ Drew, Andrew, is his wide skill set. Not only does he have the knowledge of the technical audio visual equipment and systems, we'll be going into hardware and software, but he also has deep insight on the experiences, right? Your event, whether you're doing a webinar, whether you're going live on Facebook, whatever it is that you're doing, it's an experience that you're creating for people. And he understands what makes them special to each participant that attends them, which in turn makes your appearances, whether they're in person or virtual events, more profitable, right? Andrew has shared physical and virtual stages with local activists and multi-million-dollar celebrities alike, sharing his love for music and his knowledge of powerful live experiences. So if we can all welcome the one and only DJ Drew, Andrew C Ybarra.
Thank you, Luz. Thank you, everyone. Can't help it. I have to do a little intro music every time. I think it's so fun.
Absolutely. So DJ Drew is going to be teaching me. He already sent us a guide, but I want to learn how to do that because like that's so cool that you can just like pull up sounds like that. All right. So now that we know how incredible Andrew is, let's do a little bit of just getting to know you. So the first getting to know you is a little bit silly, actually. It's a silly question that we ask all of our guests. And the silly question is, what's your spirit animal and why?
Yeah, the first thing I think of is a panther. Um, Very kind of quiet behind the scenes, ready to pounce, fierce.
Yeah.
Also likes to take naps, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. I see that. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you're scouting the environments, which is something that you do every time that you help these incredible people putting on experiences. That's something that you do so well. So
Yeah.
makes a
A
lot
lot
of
of
sense.
vision. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So the work that you're doing now, it's fun because you're putting together actually a course for DJs, right? Because you and didn't you just win like DJ of the year for like the Bay Area Association?
I did, yeah. I've won DJ of the year for the Bay Area DJ Association.
Yeah.
So that was it was a huge honor. Like I did not expect it. It was a peer given award, and yeah, I mean, I in 2020 I was totally just thinking about just pivoting and just supporting and giving as much as I can. I wasn't thinking about anything else, but yeah, it turned out to be an incredible year.
Yeah, so you are an incredible DJ with incredible accolades, an incredible experience that's gotten you to where you are. So, given where you are and given the stages that you've been on and the people that you've supported in creating these 6 and 7 figure events, what led you here? Like, how did you get here? Like, why audio and visual? Like, why sound experiences? Why this?
Yeah, so I've always had a little bit of the musical love for music within me. I played piano when I was younger,
Oh, did
and
you?
but it really started when I was in high school, and a church I was attending actually needed someone to run sound. They were kind of just a startup church, really small, and they started to grow. And I said, I don't know anything about audio, but I'll jump into it and just figure it out. And so I had, two CD players and like an old school mixer, and I just started pushing buttons and figuring out what everything did. And eventually the church started growing, and I just kept supporting as they grew with live music for the sound and for a live band. And then when I graduated out of high school, moved to the Bay Area and started DJing to get me through college, and fell in
Wow.
love with kind of the scene there and
Yeah,
just being a part of the energy and the
yeah.
music, being able to provide fun times for everyone. It just drew me. It drew me into that world. But it wasn't really until a few years later, after I had done big corporate events and contracted with billion-dollar corporations and got into the audiovisual space, that my eyes kind of opened. Like, wow, this could be a career if I wanted it to be. And I didn't know if it would be yet, but then I was introduced to the coaching industry, and my mind was kind of blown. I mean, I had
Yeah.
no idea that there were other people that were just working on bettering themselves,
Mhm.
committing to themselves and their vision and going for it all. And at first I thought it was a bunch of snake oil. Like, what are these people selling? This is crazy. But the more I was around it, I got addicted to the energy and was just like, this is incredible. These people are amazingly brave to be stepping into their visions and to be committing to the best version of themselves. And so I knew that that's when I had the calling, I had the download. Like, this is how I'm meant to share my gifts of
Mhm.
audiovisual systems and tech and music, and this is what I'm meant to do and support. So that's when I started lifted AV Productions to support coaches and entrepreneurs.
Ah, that's so beautiful. And I've personally gotten to witness that over 7 years. Back when I was just like entering the coaching. I didn't even know that the coaching space existed. And I went into my first coaching experience and met my coaches and invested more than I had ever even thought of investing, and completely changed my life. And those experiences that we had every weekend, which included a component of visual and audio, were huge to the extent that when I saw Drew again, I was like, oh my God, I so remember you. And I remember the experiences that you created for us so many years ago. And so this stuff really sticks with you. And I just have to say, acknowledge you for the heart and the humanity that you bring to this, and for your dedication to working with coaches and working with people that are making the world a better place. That's something that we do as well, that we're committed to, which is why we work with coaches. and
Mm-hmm.
and to know someone who is doing that on a different level, like, something that we've spoken about, because we've supported you in some of the things, is the tech, right? Some of the, like, the technical things behind the scenes, or the audio and the visual. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel scary. If it's ever felt scary for you guys, that as you're watching, let us know. Like, just say, like me, it's you felt that, or just, like, think back to the times when you thought about, well, how do I make it look like that? How do I make it sound like that? Am I doing this right? And the thing is, it doesn't have to be scary. And I think, you just have this gift of knowing the technical, but you also, again, bring this humanity where you can teach it so well. So let's dive into the teaching.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and so first, I think the big question to answer first is why? Like, why does it matter? Why does it matter what your sound sounds like, and what your visual experience looks like? Well, and especially being a coach who's either trying to connect with people or potentially hold events where you're trying to bring people into your space and increase conversions, like, why should I care?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few reasons why this is really important. So the first being, this is a lot of the times their first impression of you, right? We hear a lot about first impressions and the difference it makes within the first few seconds. So immediately, subconsciously, they're looking at you. They're looking at your background. They're just whatever experience you are creating.
Yeah.
Immediately, they have judgments on that, and that's just the way that our brains are wired. There's nothing we can do about that, but we can use it to our advantage. And so, making sure that you have the basics to look professional will automatically set you in a category of this person is a professional. This person is an expert. Whatever they're going to talk about next, I'm ready to now listen because I can trust that they know what they're talking about. And it doesn't have to be this huge production that you're doing, but there are little things that you can do that are going to make a difference. And yeah, so before we were doing in-person events, it required like a big production, and you
Yeah.
needed to have a beautiful stage, and you
Yeah.
wanted everything to be beautiful, like really just representing your brand and yourself. But now it's like we're in our homes, we're creating home studios, and so there are things that you can do yourself that don't have to break the bank and that can be great investments. And so
Mhm.
that's another reason why you want to pay attention to those things, because they are investments. And then also, yeah, it's with everyone being virtual, everyone is online now, right? So everyone's putting content out there, everyone is on Zoom. And so you want to stand out in that crowd, right? You want
Yes.
to be seen. I mean, everybody's a talking head, but if you can stand out in any sort of way and add the video and the audio elements, it puts you in another category, and it's like, wow, this person is different.
Absolutely. So in our programs, we talk about the speed to trust. And I'm a branding nerd. Branding is something that I totally geek out on. And the reason, right? So I like to understand why are we doing this? Like, why does this matter? And so I want you guys to understand, like, the reason this matters, like, this is a piece of branding, right? It's a really important piece of branding. Why does branding matter? Branding matters because it shortens this thing that's actually really important for you. It's called the speed to trust. You are you're meeting people online mostly, right? So cold traffic, warm traffic. There's different ways that you're coming into touch with people that either they sort of know you, or like they just don't know you at all, and you're completely new to them. We want to go from total stranger, why should I trust you, why should I listen to you, like I shouldn't be spending my precious time and energy on you, to like, I trust you, and I know that you're the person to guide me to the results that I want to get. And that's called the speed to trust, right? That, like, there's this period, and you want to shorten that.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you shorten that? You shorten that through branding. That's why powerful branding is so important. And especially now, since so many of you are on visual and audio and virtual event spaces, this piece, your branding in terms of your audio, your visual, and the overall experience that you're creating is super, super important. And especially for those of you. So Drew mostly works, he's actually doing this, which I think is really cool. He mostly works with 6 and 7 figure coaches, 6 and 7 figure and above, right? So this is potentially like if you guys are, just beginning, if you're at 5 figures, if you're getting to 6 figures, maybe like you can't like have Drew at your event, but we're gonna learn how he helps these 6, 7 plus figure brands create these incredible experiences that you guys can create in your home studio. So, and also if you guys have questions, just put those questions in the comments and we'll make sure to get to them by the end of our time here. Okay, so first
Absolutely.
impression, super important. You want to stand out. You absolutely want to stand out. And again, speed to trust. So let's talk home studio. What are all the questions you guys have about home studio setup? And we're going to start with sound. So you're a DJ, and that's sort of where you started. And let's talk sound. Let's talk all the things. So we're going to start with equipment. So I think that one of the biggest things that comes up when we think about equipment, it's going to be what?
Is
Mics.
this thing on?
Is
This
this
thing
thing
one too.
on? Yeah, yeah, your microphone. And so I want
Hmm.
us to talk about the microphone situation on a few levels. And I think you actually put it together really well. And we're going to have this really awesome gift for you guys that I looked at. And when I looked at it, I was like, that's awesome. That's amazing. And I just clarified what I need and what I don't need. So, and if you guys want that gift, you guys just type gift and we'll make sure that it gets to you. Okay, so we're going to think about this in 3 different ways. This is the super bootstrapped budget. You're like, I'm just getting started, or I don't have like hundreds to thousands of dollars to spend. Then there's the intermediate, like, all right, like, don't want to break the bank, but I have some money to spend um, to make sure that my branded experience is really phenomenal. And then there's like, I want to be the best in the best. Give me the best. What do I need? So when it comes to sound, let's talk overall. What should our objectives with sound be? And then we'll go into those categories. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the first thing to think about with sound is obviously the microphone, right? This is your voice. This is the most important thing. Most of the time, you're going to be sharing, you're going to be giving content, and so you want to be heard. It's really important that they hear your message, right? And so you want it to come through clear. Now, whether you're using this for a podcast, whether you're doing live events, whether you're doing content, this is an essential piece of equipment that you will need. Luckily, because of the virtual industry being blown up, there are tons of options out there. So, whatever your budget is, there's something for you. So, it starts with a basic USB microphone. It sits on your desk and it plugs right into your computer. Boom, done. You can get one for under $60 now, and they even come with a boom arm, so that you can kind of adjust it and get it in your shot.
What's a boom arm?
A boom arm is one of these things. It will actually hold your microphone for you so that if you're standing like me or if you want to get in a different position, you can adjust the microphone and it's not sitting on your desk far away from your mouth, right? You want it to be near your mouth. That's where you're going to get the best sound.
Awesome. And I'm just, guys, I'm going to go. So I keep things super bare bones. So I'm also, part of this is like selfish. I want to ask Drew a ton of these questions that you guys probably have because I keep things like as simple as possible. So do you need that little like buffer
Yeah,
thingy?
so this is called a windscreen right here. This is because my microphone, if you see, is just metal. Most microphones, when you buy them, they will actually come with a windscreen, which is like that black foam that sits on top
Ah,
of the microphone. That's
yeah.
called a windscreen. That's so you don't get the noises in the microphone. So this microphone's actually for vocalists, and they know how to hold the microphone right so it doesn't
Mm,
actually so you don't need the windscreen because it does tweak the acoustics a little bit, but not much. And so, yeah, most microphones that you buy will already come with a windscreen, so you won't need to purchase one of these. For some reason, if you have a microphone already and you want to use it and it doesn't have a windscreen, you can find one of these on Amazon for $20, and it just helps to block some of that wind that comes through
so
when you're speaking in the microphone. So good,
we
great
are
question.
blocking the wind, guys, and we are moving the mic wherever we want to go. See, we're making it super basic because I know that there's a ton of people out there who are like me, like I'm just using my headphones. Let's talk about that. What if I'm just using my computer microphone or just like my Apple headset? Like, what are the downsides and like the potential benefits of that?
Yeah, so definitely please don't use your computer microphone. It does not sound good. So even using your Apple headphones that have the mic on them sound better than the computer microphone. So even if you are not ready to invest in anything yet, at least use those headphones because it does make a difference in the sound. And you can't always tell when you're on and you know what it sounds like on the other end. But if you have recorded,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
yeah,
So
like
there you
doing
go.
exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we're learning. So Lucy's just gonna pop those in, and we'll hear the difference immediately when she plugs those in.
If you
So
guys
yeah, that's
just
that's the
let
basics of
us know. Okay.
yeah, much better already.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like I'm right next to you. And when you use the computer audio, you get echoes, so it sounds like you're kind of far away like this. You can
Huh.
hear, so you get that. Once you get up close and personal, this is where your voice really sounds like you're
Mm,
talking with somebody. You can hear the
mm.
intimacy that's in their voice when you're speaking to them because you're
That's really
right there
interesting.
next to you, rather than like they're in an auditorium next door. They're speaking through a large PA system.
Okay, I'm glad I was not following the best practices, guys, because I think that this is something that I know I've had questions about, and I was like, it doesn't really matter. And I think, speaking back to that speed to trust equation, if it sounds like you're closer, there's this intimacy that's created, and so therefore we speed up to trust, which is something that we want. Okay,
Absolutely.
all right. So we were talking, so like different budgets. I asked you, I jumped in to ask you about what the
The
boom
boom arm,
arm.
yeah, the boom arm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's different price ranges. You'll see in the free gift that we're gonna share. I just lay out like some of my favorite ones for all different budgets. The next one up is like a Blue Yeti, so that costs around $120,
That's the
industry
one that you
standard.
guys see like everybody have mostly on their videos.
Yeah, if you may not know the name, but you know what it looks like. You have seen it before, I
Yeah.
guarantee, because a lot of people have invested in that. They even have mini versions of it now, so it's a trusted microphone.
Hmm.
It's easy to use, plugs right into your computer, sits right on your desk. Boom, done. Immediate upgrade to your audio.
Question. So, what are the things you should be looking for in a mic, like are there like these metrics, like how do I know like this is a good mic and this is a less good mic, like what am I even looking for? How do I know that like the Blue Yeti is better than my headset? Are there any like metrics or things that I should be looking for when I'm thinking of buying a microphone?
As you go up in price, the quality will go up. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
So that's
that's
pretty
pretty much
simple.
it. Don't worry about anything else. I mean, of
Okay.
course, there's different shapes and there's different mics that pick up different frequencies. Don't worry about that. As you decide how much you want to spend and find a microphone within that price that fits your style of teaching, done. Yeah, you
Great.
don't need to overcomplicate it.
Awesome. Okay. So what else do we need to know about mics?
The last thing I would say, there are wireless microphones available, and those are huge. They're really affordable right now. And if you do any sort of movement coaching, if you like to stand like I do, yes, movement. If for any reason you don't want to be tied down, if you like to pace a little bit when you talk or just like move in and out, you'll notice when I move in and out to the microphone, so you can hear the changes in
Yeah.
my voice. So if that's your style of speaking, you want to
Mm-hmm.
invest in a wireless microphone because that
Mm-hmm.
will sit in one place, and no matter where you're moving,
Mm-hmm.
it will sound consistent. And so that's something they have USB ones that plug right into your computer again, and
Mm-hmm.
make it really easy for you to be mobile while you're speaking. And so
And so again, I looked through Drew's gift, and it's really good, guys. So like you guys are gonna want it.
And I was really excited because the one that's the wireless one, which I will definitely be getting, it's only like $99. So it's compared to all the microphones, it's actually super affordable, and it's wireless. So question about wireless, and I think we sort of talked about this before. So is it only wireless to your laptop, or can it also connect to your phone?
So they have both, right? They have ones that connect with your phone and they have ones that connect with your laptop. There usually aren't ones that do both. So you have
Ah,
to choose
so
one
you're
or
gonna
the other.
got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So, most of the time I suggest the ones that go to your laptop. But yeah, if you're a mobile creator and you want ones that plug into your phone, they
So
do have
accepted.
ones that connect into your phone jack. So you can do it that
Got it.
way as well if that's your style. Hmm.
What about DSLR? Like, is there one microphone that connects both to your computer and DSLR, or are you gonna have to have like three mics if you also then?
Usually the DSLR will be the same kind of input as it would be for your phone.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so if you have one that works with your phone, it will most likely work with your DSLR. Computers are a little bit different. They're mostly USB. Depends on your computer. Once again, different computers have different specs, but the USB ones for me are the most reliable.
Got it. So USB is more reliable, but if you guys are on your phone or if you're on a DSLR a lot, which sometimes we are, then it's going to be a separate mic.
Correct.
Cool.
Hmm.
And I'll be asking, do you have a specific recommendation for that one? Because I think on your guide we have one for the laptop, for the computer. Is
Hmm.
there one that you prefer that you can let us know about for a phone DSLR?
Yeah, there's one for the phone that's really great. It's called Rode,
Okay.
Rode, and they just came out with actually their 2.0 version. They might not have them in stock. You can check, but it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty great microphone. It's around 150, maybe
Okay.
$170. They
Okay.
have different versions of it, but it sounds incredible. It's easy clip on, turn on. Don't have to mess around with it and plug it right into your phone or camera.
Awesome. Love
Yeah.
that. We like easy. Okay. What else? What other questions do you guys have about microphones? Or Drew, what else do you want to discuss when it comes to mics?
That's pretty much it for microphones. I did want to mention there is something called an audio interface.
Mm.
And so an audio interface is in between the microphone and your computer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to plug your microphone into the audio interface, and then the
Mm-hmm.
audio interface plugs into the computer. And the reason you would want to do that is so you
Mm-hmm.
can add either more microphones
Mm.
or a computer or an iPad or something for music. So this is a great way to add
Mm.
music to your system, is through
Mm-hmm.
an audio interface. And so they have different versions of that depending on how much you're going to be using it and what you're going to be using it for. And
Yeah.
in my guide, once again, there are recommendations depending on what you're going to be using it for. But it does require a different style of microphone because you're not going
Oh.
USB anymore. So now it's a
Oh.
different connection, and the connection, yeah, is usually XLR input.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
if you are going to use an audio interface, which I think is a great investment because
Yeah.
it gives you flexibility to add more microphones. If you have someone sitting next to you, it adds flexibility. If you, like I said, you want to add music, this
Mm-hmm.
is a great way to do it. I get a lot of questions about how do I add music without sharing my computer audio and doing that whole thing. And so this
Mm.
is how I do it, is through an audio interface.
Mm. Okay. So an audio interface, which is going to then change the mic that you have. And so at this point, we are looking at an XLR input.
Correct. Hmm.
And is there a mic that you recommend for that?
There are a lot of microphones. There's one in my guide. I think it's like a same thing, like $60 XLR microphone. If you just type in XLR microphone and once again find what's in your budget, somewhere around that price, I would recommend.
Okay.
Then that will work great.
Cool. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that there were like all these different flavors of microphones. Very helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
now in terms of still sound, what about sound effects? So I think it's a good sort of transition. So there's this audio interface. For if you want it, yeah, you're gonna do a sound effect.
I was looking for one. I was waiting to hear what you were gonna say, and then I was gonna toss one in there.
For sound effects that are money. Doo, doo, doo. I there you go. Yeah, sound effects. How do you do that? Because I feel like that's pretty magical. It's super cool, but I have no idea how you even begin to just like find those sounds and make those sounds, and how does all that work?
Yeah, definitely. So the way that I do it, I actually have a DJ mixer. So I have like pads on my DJ mixer that have the different sound effects, and I can do some of that fun stuff. But most of you don't need a DJ mixer. So what you're going to want to invest in is something called the Rodecaster Pro. This is
Rodecaster
also
Pro.
in my guide,
Yeah.
and it does come with a pretty pricey tag,
Yeah.
but it's worth it because it can do a lot of great things to really up level your audio.
Mm-hmm.
So this allows you to plug in multiple microphones into it. It allows you to record right onto the device.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to connect to Bluetooth. So if you just connect your phone to it and you want to play a song through your phone, that immediately goes into your computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're able to have actually buttons that you can program to have as many sound effects as you want. You can have it play a song. You can have it play a sound effect. You can have it queue up, a long audio. Anything you want, you're able to program directly onto the board. And so it's a great investment. It's pretty new. It just came out in 2020,
Yeah.
so it's a nice piece of equipment. Great investment. Costs around $600,
Mm-hmm.
and but you can do a lot with it. You can do podcasting with this. You can, if you host live
Mm-hmm.
events and you're not
Mm-hmm.
ready to support to invest in like professional support, this is a great like do it yourself piece of equipment because
Mm-hmm.
it can record and you have everything. You want to make it as easy as possible for you to not have to search for music and be on your computer. You want to stay connected to them, so having
Mm-hmm.
buttons in front of you is really essential. So
Hmm.
this is one of those pieces of equipment that will really support you in that.
And so, is that an audio interface? An
It
example
is
of
an
an
audio interface. It's a type of audio interface. Yes.
got it. So it's the one that for like easy setup, simplifying, and a good range of sounds and audio experiences. The one that you would recommend.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's for that high end experience, like you said. You want sound effects, multiple microphones plugged into it, just a lot of flexibility for music. That's the go to.
Awesome. And so when you talk about multiple microphones, so are we talking about like, so suppose we have, I don't know, two people in the same room. Like, are you saying like each of them has their own microphone and like the audio is feeding into for it to sound good or?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you could definitely like put a microphone in between you and have it work that way.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're recording,
Mm-hmm.
professional audio, doing a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
something where you really want the voice to be clear and
Mm-hmm.
crystal and professional, then you want each person to have their own microphone.
Mm.
You'll see that in any podcast that you see that have video, each
Mm-hmm.
individual
Yeah.
speaker has their own microphone. So the reason
Yeah.
they do that is so they can really capture the sound. When you put a microphone in the middle of the room, it tends to capture all of the other sounds that are in that
Mm.
room. So if a
Mm.
car drives by and that could get picked up in the microphone because you have to turn it up so high
Mm.
to pick up both people. If you have one in front of your mouth, it does not have to be that high. So we'll only
Mm-hmm.
pick up a small what we call radius.
Mm. So question about that, which I think is a like a beginner, basic, super basic question, but I have it, so I'm going to ask it. So suppose you have two people like on a stage right next to each other. I feel like on a stage means that. So I'm thinking like I have another person here in my office.
Mm-hmm.
Will my mic will my mic pick up their speaking when they're speaking, or does the mic somehow know like this is the only like sound type that I'm focusing in on? Like how does it not pick up like the extra stuff?
Yeah, so for you'll have whatever audio interface you're using, it'll have a fader on it, so you can turn the volume for that microphone up or down. And so,
So that increases or decreases the radius?
exactly. So it picks up a larger radius or a smaller radius. And so
Mm,
once you are setting up and you do your testing, you'll want to play around and record yourself. So as to find that sweet spot, like okay, I need to have the microphone right here, a few inches from my face,
Mm,
and then I have my fader set right there, and that's great sound, and it's not picking up the other person. So it depends on
mm.
how far away they are, but doing simple testing, you'll find that sweet spot where it's going to sound great and not pick up the other person.
Got it. Perfect. So if you guys have any other questions about sound, I know we had some questions attached to microphone. We covered that. What about the phone? Yeah, we covered that. Does it matter if we use that puffer thingy? We covered that. So if you guys have additional questions, let us know in terms of sound. Any software that we should know about?
Yes, there are a few different softwares that I wanted to recommend. So the first is called Ecamm,
Mm-hmm.
Ecamm. And Ecamm is a Mac only software that
Mm-hmm.
does a lot of video production. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do some really cool effects on it.
Hmm.
If you're running live events, if you're doing content, um, you can add in a lot of elements to make it really interactive, and so you can change the way your video looks. You can do some of these effects that I'm doing here with a green
Mm,
screen.
mm,
You can do picture in picture, which is maybe your PowerPoint and then your head is in the corner, like up
mm,
here.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You can add in music in there directly from your computer. You can
And this
bring
is
in,
live. This is not like post editing process. This is
this
like
is
as you're live.
It's live, yeah. So you set the scenes, what you want them to be beforehand, and then throughout the event or throughout your content, you just click on the scene and it will go directly to whatever you had set that up previously. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of room for customization and really setting it to your style and putting your graphics, lower thirds, bringing in guest speakers, some of that stuff. It can do some cool things.
Hmm. Okay, that sounds awesome. Is that at all like an audio interface replacement
A
or?
little bit. It a little bit. So, it does require some processing power. So if you have the computer that
Mm,
can handle it, I would say at
mm,
least 16 gigabyte RAM on your computer. So if you have something,
mm,
then that's what you would want to run the software. But yes, it can definitely take over for some of the hardware that you would normally buy. You can plug your microphone into your computer still, maybe even multiple microphones if you have multiple USBs, and then still be able to set scenes and
mm-hmm,
play music directly from your computer and have a green screen, have multiple cameras plugged in to your computer. So
mm-hmm,
it definitely takes over for some of the hardware that you
mm-hmm.
might otherwise have.
Got it. So, but for you, you're actually using, you do have an audio interface, and then you're using the software to make it even more powerful.
Yes, I use a combination of both. I mean, each of them have their pros and cons, and we can go over like the pros and cons between hardware and software and which route you want to kind of go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like a combination of both because they usually, together they can do a lot. For instance, like if you have the Rodecaster Pro, like you have all the buttons in front of you, and it's so nice to just press a button. I mean, I love pressing buttons. I like to say I'm a professional button pusher, and so to have something physical to hit for me is so important rather than like,
Hmm.
okay, let me go to my computer and find the
Mm,
song and then click it.
mm,
Like that doesn't work for me as far as production goes, right? You every second counts. So
mm,
for me, it's nice to have the physical button.
mm.
However, you're only able to program eight. I think it's eight or maybe it's 12 buttons on the interface. So if you want more sound effects than that or more music than that, then you need to add
I'm
in some
really
sort of
curious what
software.
buttons you have.
Yeah, I can show you some of the buttons that I have here. But yeah, there's a lot of buttons. It might be button overwhelm.
Like I just want to press on to hear all the sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a combination. So let's actually dive into that, the pros and the cons of hardware versus software. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So the reason you would want hardware, like I said, the pros, they're buttons in front of you. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually plug and play. There's not a lot of setting up. Like you just plug it in, you download the software to make the piece of equipment work, and then it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
works. And you
Mm-hmm.
press the buttons, and it's very user friendly.
Any chance we
Um,
can see what it looks like?
what the equipment looks like?
Yeah, that you're talking about. Like when you're talking about pressing buttons, like see
Yeah,
your audio
definitely.
interface.
Yeah, I have a few examples here that I can show you of pieces of hardware which I have. You want to see what a normal? Here, I'll show you a little bit of what like my normal setup can look like too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Again, if you guys have questions, keep posting those.
So this was a hybrid event I did a few months back, and you can
Okay.
see all the buttons and all of the pieces of equipment and computers I have
Yeah.
to kind of make a show like that run. Lot that goes into it. These are some of the studios that we've built when it comes to doing virtual events.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of what my home studio looks like in the bottom right.
Got it.
So you'll see I have my DJ mixer. I have a lot of the buttons, those big white buttons on the DJ mixer are my music sound effects.
I
Next on the
see.
left is
And
my
so
video.
for you guys to know what we're talking, just because I think it can be helpful, and I know it looks a little bit smaller. I think I can make it so we can just have, let me pin you. I think I can pin you so we can make it bigger. There we are. Okay, so that you guys should be able to see it bigger now. All right, so what we're talking about here is underneath your two laptops, is that the audio interface that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's my DJ mixer. So it's obviously a bigger version of what you would need. But it's the same principles. It has, different faders on it so you can turn up the volume, down the volume, and then it has buttons which you can program to do whatever you want.
Got it. And so when you're talking about the buttons, I just wanted to like, I'm more like kinesthetics. I wanted to see. So that's what you mean. You're like, you have
That's
these.
exactly. And then I'll also show some of the pieces of equipment. So this is here's another piece of equipment that I recommend. This is called the A10 Mini.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, this is a plug and play HDMI switcher. So if you have multiple cameras, if you have another laptop which you want to have a presentation on, you can plug all of those things into this little A10 Mini, and then you just press those buttons down below to tell the computer which one you want to show.
Okay. And do using any of these things, does that like is it too much like what is it? What am I trying to say? Does it require too much of the computer, or does it like not cause too much strain to the computer?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the pros again of using hardware is you
Mm-hmm.
take some of the strain off of the computer. So this little thing does the processing by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So your computer, all it has to do is, I have an incoming signal. It thinks it's a webcam. The A10 Mini tells the computer that it's a webcam. So I have my camera plugged into it. I'm actually using one of these now, and that's how I'm able to switch between my camera, this camera. I'm able to go back to graphics, my computer. So I'm able to just push the button and tell it which one to go to. So it does all of the processing on its own. And so again, I like buttons. So if you don't want to have to search on your screen to be like, where am I going next? This is great. This is great for those that like something in front of them that they need to be quick on.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Uh Next, let's see.
And I just want to mention that there's 5 different models for this. Depending, most people will only need the $300 model. They go up to they just came out with 2 new ones that goes all the way up to 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Don't usually most people aren't going to need that level of equipment, but it's great price for what it can do.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And so what about if you're trying to show from like like an iPad? Like, is that also you're using the switcher?
Yeah, so if you want to show an iPad, you can plug the iPad. You would need a little adapter, but the iPad can then plug into that A10 Mini, and then you can show anything that's on your iPad also onto your computer.
Okay. Okay, super cool. So that's super helpful, guys. So
Hmm.
if you want to be, which especially for us coaches that are on camera and are online, so often it can be powerful and it can be really helpful to be able to do all of those things. Um,
Yeah,
so that's fantastic. Okay,
yeah,
question
and then
again, another beginner question.
yeah,
What's
definitely.
what's the connection between an audio interface and that what was it called? I
The
this
the
the
last
mini?
piece of equipment I just showed.
Yeah.
So the audio interface plugs from your microphone directly into your computer to USB.
Mm-hmm.
The A10 Mini will also plug into your computer through USB.
Mm-hmm. So
So
you're gonna need you would then need both. You would need an audio interface and you would need the A10 mini. What is
correct.
it?
A10 Mini, yeah,
A10
correct.
mini.
Yeah, because the A10 Mini is for video, the
Mm,
audio interface is for audio.
for audio.
So yeah, both of those elements are
Got it.
important.
Okay. Got it. So we have the audio interface for your sounds, for the microphones, for all of that, and then we have another input which is going to be for video and being able to see different visuals coming from different like if you have different pads or like an iPad or if you have
Hmm.
like tablets or if you have different computers,
Yeah,
all of that being
different
able to
cameras.
switch cameras.
Hmm. Yeah,
So you can actually connect to a DSLR as well.
yeah, yeah. So I have multiple cameras plugged into mine, and so I'm able to get different angles.
Oh wow. What
Yeah.
about here's a question. Well, before we go into that, I do have a question about video. We'll jump. I'll ask that in video. Before we stop with audio, music. So best practices for sharing music. Like we talked about the audio interface, but if you don't have one yet, are there any pros or are there any best practices in terms of like don't do this when it comes to music?
Yeah, there are there's a lot we can get into there, so I want to be careful about like opening
Yeah.
that can of worms. Um, yeah, when it comes to music, you definitely want music at your whatever you're doing. First of all, the probably the most important thing I would just mention, just be careful of the legalities that come with
Yes.
that. So that's
Copyright
because
free.
there's a bunch of settings that we can go into on Zoom that need to be set. And that's a whole other conversation, I think. But the legalities is probably the most important part.
Hmm.
And since you have a legal background, I figure this might be important to you as well.
Yeah.
So there are two main license holders for most music, BMI and ASCAP, ASCAP,
Hmm.
and those two are the two that I carry, and so those allow me to play music online
Hmm.
for Zoom events. Doesn't mean I can play on
So
Facebook.
that's why you can. Got it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do it on Facebook. But right now that's one of the only platforms I can do it on, and it only covers me playing it live. It does not cover it being recorded and
Recorded.
redistributed. Yeah, so
Hmm.
I'm very clear with my clients when letting them know that if they want to record and redistribute this,
Hmm.
then we need to cut out the music pieces
Hmm.
when doing editing, or you can use
Have
copyright free
copyright
music.
free music. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of websites out there that will offer
Hmm.
copyright free music. One of my favorites is artlist.io.
Artlist.io.
Yeah,
Okay.
artlist.io. And you buy a subscription from them, and you can download as much as you want. And it's pretty great music, to be honest. I mean,
Okay.
they have all sorts of genres for whatever your needs are.
There's also, guys, if you go straight to YouTube, there's an entire YouTube library. I think it's called like audio library. There's a huge
Mm-hmm.
library on YouTube of copyright-free music as well that you can use. So know that that's like another tool that you can have at your disposal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've used that before when we do video editing to add in the backgrounds for videos.
Yeah. So if you guys are creating like videos, podcasts, like so say for our podcast, we have or any video that we do like to add a component of music because music completely changes it. Like we never do a testimonial without music because it
Mm-hmm.
just completely changes the experience. Right here, we're talking about audio and visual experiences that change the relationship that you're having so you can speed up to trust and so people can say like yes I want to work with you and so we find that music completely enhances the experience as a viewer, as a listener. But again, you can't just use any music. So for our podcasts, for any videos, testimonials, we always add a little bit of music, but we make sure it's copyright free music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Anything
do
else?
want to finish up. I feel like I left us hanging on the difference between hardware and software. So I just want to
Yeah.
kind of wrap that up with a
Yeah.
nice little bow. Um, The great things about software are you don't need to invest a lot in it, right? And
Mhm.
it's all done on your computer, so you don't have to worry
Mhm.
about like buttons here, buttons here. If you
Mhm.
just want to work on your computer, then that's the way to go. And there's also not a lot of investment. Usually, it's a monthly
Mhm.
fee, but
Mhm.
it's not like you have to spend hundreds of dollars up front to do some of this stuff. So
And it sounds like
that
for something like that when you're using software, you would want at least two screens though, so you can.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would want dual monitors probably because there's not a lot of window space unless you have a
Mhm.
larger like iMac or something or a
Mhm.
different bigger screen. But
Mhm.
yeah, usually my rule of thumb is if you have more money than time, buy
Mm.
hardware because it's easy to
Mm.
plug and play and done.
Mm. Mhm.
If you have more time than money, then invest in software because
Mm.
there is a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to like
Mhm.
set up
Mhm.
scenes and do certain things. But once you do it, it works fantastic and you don't need
Mhm.
to invest a lot into it.
Awesome. And great. Thank you, Miriam. Miriam says she uses Facilion Studio for her YouTube channel. Great. Okay, so how are you doing on time? Because we haven't even gone into like visual too much or at
Yeah,
all,
I'm
really.
good on time. Let's keep going.
You're
I
good
could
on
talk
time?
about AV all day long. You know me, Liz.
Awesome. All right. So here, guys, we're not holding back. We're really delivering. Andrew, if you guys do have an event that's a virtual event or an in person, I cannot recommend DJ Drew enough for you guys
Mm,
to work with. I've known him for almost a decade now. Really heart centered, great human being, phenomenal at his craft. So he
mm,
gets all of my
mhm.
recommendations. And you guys would be lucky to have him, and we're lucky to have him right now. So let's keep this train going.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we talked about how to sound like $1 million, but now let's talk about looking like $1 million, right? So in when we train you guys, we talk about, some of you guys have heard me talk about the wooing framework. You have to woo your prospects, you have to woo leads, and the very first step in wooing is your first impression. And Andrew talked about your first impression being so powerful. And so in the first impression, sound, we've spoken about sound, but a huge piece of your first impression is what you look like, right? What does your business look like? And so let's talk about general, what should be best practices that we follow when it comes to looking like $1 million with your coaching business, with your consulting, experts business, where you're teaching, you're training, you're mentoring, whether it be life coaching, health coaching, relationship coaching, and then whatever coach you are or whatever kind of your expertise is, you still got a presence. You still look a certain way. And so
Hmm.
walk us through that.
Absolutely. Yes. I'd actually like to share 3 tips that you can do right now that are free, that are going to help yes, right now. So, those that are watching, you can literally do them right now. So, here we go. The first is your camera angle. So, I don't know about you, but I do not like my double chin showing. And so, in this picture on the left, she is looking down at her computer, and it's only
Yeah.
probably by a few inches. But if you compare it to on the right, just look at the shape of her face and the
Mm-hmm.
angle and the connection that you feel, rather than getting looked down on. Right?
Yeah.
You feel like you're more making eye contact.
Yeah. Feels
And
more
so
intimate.
whether you're using a DSLR or um, camera or just your webcam, prop it up to eye level, because that's going to make a big difference if you don't already have it there.
I feel like I need to shift my settings a little bit. So I feel like mine is a little bit above. So I should lower it just a teensy
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, it's much better. It's much more flattering either way to have it like eye level. It just makes a subtle difference, and you'd be surprised.
All right, keep going, and I'm gonna
So
try to fix my stuff here.
cool. So next, those of you, I'd like to see if you can guess what's one of the main differences. I mean, there's a few in these pictures. This was from the same event, and I was noticing something behind them that was pretty obvious. And throughout the event, I started to notice it more and more, and I started. This is when I was a little bit more aware of how much the background can actually do for you. And so I started to look at, okay, what can we tell by someone's background, even before meeting them, even
Mm-hmm.
before listening to them? what do we know? Well, on the right, we know that this woman owns a few chests, and that's about it. We can't really tell much else because there's nothing there. And then this gentleman on the left, well, we can tell he has an American eagle above him. He has a quote on the wall. He likes cars. He has two pictures. They're kind of hidden, but if they're in the military, so you can tell a little bit about this guy. Has a military background. He's a believer in self development and discipline, based on his quote. So you can just tell a little bit about him based on his background alone. And I think that's so interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever if you don't have anything that's shown in your background, find something maybe in your home that you can add that represents you or your brand, that I think would really tell people a little bit about you. What can we tell by Luz? She's incredibly intelligent and she loves to study. She's very neat and aesthetic. I love the elephant and the like little artsy pieces as well. So it matches.
And
It
you guys
flows.
will see, like, so we're getting a bunch of shirts printed because like I said, I love branding, and so branding is a huge piece of your establishing more trust faster with with leads, with prospects. And
Hmm.
so it's not an accident that I'm wearing this shirt. It's not an accident that I have this super sparkly jacket that I wear, right? Because it like stops the scroll. It gets attention and gets people excited, right? And so everything that we do, mostly everything, because mine is like the bad use of microphones so far, is super purposeful in terms of the visuals. And so this background that you guys see here was created for you guys. It was created to portray a sort of message. It is functional, right? Like I do have my library, and it has different categories, but it also has an aesthetic functionality for me being on camera, and I'm on camera all the time. And so it is, you want to start thinking like, what's your backdrop? Like whether you have a green screen, and so you don't have to worry about actually creating something physical, or yeah, which also, it's pretty nimble, right? Like, so Matt has a backdrop, and so it took a lot less work than this. And the cool thing about, say, like just a green screen is you can switch the backgrounds depending on like what you're doing, and so you can have some more flexibility. So you guys can have a think in terms of what's going to be best for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important, and it's just again one of those things that's very subtle, but can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that I want to share that you can do right now. So actually, if you go into Zoom, here, let me get out of the way. You can actually go into your preferences and go to video, and then tell Zoom that you want it to be in HD. So there's a little button for HD. So that's going to make
Ah,
sure that your video comes through clear. Otherwise, they will downgrade the quality
ah.
of your video. So you'll want to make sure that's clicked. And then below that, you'll see a couple options. If you don't see these for some reason, you may need to update your Zoom. But there are two options: touch up my appearance and adjust for low light. So if
Hmm.
you haven't invested in lighting yet, this is a quick way that you can brighten yourself up, or if it's too bright, darken yourself, so that you can find the optimal lighting
All right, guys.
for
I don't
you.
have either of these turned on, so I'm going to turn them on so we can actually see before and after. So I am now touching up my appearance. Okay, it just softened me. It's like an Instagram filter.
Mm-hmm.
Soften things and then adjust for low light. Oh wow,
Yeah,
look at that.
and
I
see,
don't know that
brighten
I
you up.
love the
There's your
touch of
face.
I don't know that I love the touch my appearance. I feel like it made me feel like one of those filters, but adjusting for low light. What I will say in seeing this is because we actually I need to use it better, but we do have like our light and stuff. So I think I prefer the real light better, but it's really great to
Yes.
know that this is here.
Yes, I would as well. So this is if you haven't invested in any lighting yet and you just want to do something now. Great way to, and even when you do adjust the lighting, if your lighting is not dimmable, you can always adjust here on Zoom. So great little tip.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Um, so I think that that sort of leads us pretty directly into talking about lighting.
Yeah, yeah, lighting is super important. So when it comes to, some people ask me about cameras and things like that. I say wait
Yeah,
on the camera.
yeah,
Lighting is first
yeah,
because the lighting will make such a difference.
yeah.
The camera you don't always notice right away, depending
Mm-hmm.
on what type of camera you're investing in. Because Zoom will downgrade the quality. It only allows a certain level of quality into Zoom, anyways. So
But
invest in the lighting first.
I'm gonna let Andrew keep sharing about the lighting while I go fix my lighting. Do you guys are going to see all before and afters? All right, keep going.
Yeah, love it. This is awesome. Okay, so I want to show you an example of the difference between two lights versus one light. So, on the right, you'll see that I just have one light. It's almost centered, it's a little bit off center, but you'll see there's a little bit of shadow on my face. And you'll see on the left that we have two lights. So this is where I have them on either side of my camera, and they're pointed directly both at me, and it really gives me a full glow. So maybe you like the look of the one light. It's definitely a little bit more intimate. It's I think of kind of like a fireside chat style. Like it's you get the shadows and it's a little bit more of an artsy feel. But for the most part, most of the time you want two because it really can give your face a full glow. So I just wanted to show the difference, and this is why all of the lights that I recommend come in pairs because you want to have
Hmm.
the option to have one on either side of you to
That's
give you a full
interesting.
glow.
I had never thought about that, having the two versus one. So we're like a ring light family. I do have my soft boxes,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, we just stick with it. Here, I'll show you guys a little bit of my setup because I think that could also be helpful for you guys.
Yeah. And ring
Um,
lights are great. I have nothing against ring lights, but I would just say if you just when you invest in two or invest in one that has two lights on them so that you can have one on either side.
yeah, so you guys can see here, there's the light that I just turned on because I didn't have it on. And then here's me checking you guys, your comments. And then there's a camera that I didn't plug that is much better resolution. And I do, like I said, we have the soft lights, but this one is, I think, an 18-inch ring light. And then Matt has a smaller one. And we like it because it's a very uniform sort of lighting experience that you get. Like you don't get the shadows, and I feel like with the soft lights, you need to have the both. So what are your thoughts of like the box lights versus or umbrella lights versus like ring lights?
Yeah, so the ring lights they both have their pros and cons. The ring lights are great because they're smaller, they take up less room. A lot of them are now dimmable. They have dimmers on them,
Yeah.
and some of the even higher end ones you can have the temperature control on them. So I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of the ring lights. I
Mm-hmm.
would just say if you're going to invest in them, spend at least like $60
Yeah.
on them because you want the ones that otherwise they're
Yeah.
probably not going to be bright enough for
Yeah.
you to actually for them to make a big difference. And then you'll want to again invest in two so that you can have one on either side of you to
Oh,
really
interesting.
give you a full glow from both sides so that you don't get the shadows that
Hmm.
you might get otherwise. So
Hmm.
if I love the soft boxes, that's what I have here. That's what I'm using for
Mm-hmm.
mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I just have the room for it. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
fan of those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have other higher end professional ones, but I don't need those. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
anybody really needs those
Mm-hmm.
unless you're building a studio, like I am. But yeah, the soft boxes are great. They definitely disperse the light a little bit better than the ring lights, but yeah, they're bulky. So depending on how much room
Yeah.
you have, and then
Yeah.
they're pretty inexpensive as well too. I mean, you can get
Mm-hmm.
a pair of them,
Yeah.
soft boxes for like $50 maybe.
Hmm.
But they aren't dimmable, so
Yeah.
you just need to be aware of the lighting that's already around you, and if it might be
Mm-hmm.
too much.
Mm-hmm. And I know that for say like for soft boxes, there's the umbrella lights, and then there's like the ones that look more boxy. Any thoughts on like?
Yeah, go with the ones that are more boxy. The umbrella ones, those are more for like photography, and those are probably too bulky. I mean, those are adjusted based on the like you can change the angle on them, and
Hmm.
it's a little much I think for what
Hmm.
most people need. So
Hmm.
I'm a fan of the more boxy
Okay.
lights. Yeah.
Okay. If you guys have questions about lighting, let us know. Okay, so something that I'm a big fan of, which I currently don't have, uh, which I want to have, but it's so far it seemed very like tricky, other than if you're using Google Hangouts, which it just does it automatically. Bokeh,
Mm,
Uka, Bokeh,
bokeh. Yes.
Bokeh,
Bokeh.
which is a fancy word for a blurred background experience.
Yes, I'll share. Yep, that's exactly what I had on those pictures. You could see there's a little bit of bokeh there because I have a DSLR camera, and so you can see my background is a little bit blurred. So that's how you get that really crisp video and going through. So to do this, you do need a DSLR camera or a professional camera. The one that I'm using here is the Canon SL3, and so there's a lot of different cameras out there that will work, but what's more important is the lens. And so you want to have a lens on there that is adjustable.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I find that most people, an 18 to 55 lens is going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And something close to that even is going to be great. So that's that will give you that effect, and then you're able to zoom in and out. The other thing I want to mention, it only has an effect if you are far away from your background. So
Yes,
Luce,
yes,
with your
yeah,
background being so close to
probably
you, it
wouldn't
might
work.
not be as prominent
Mm-hmm.
as if if it were another 5 feet
Would
back.
I need then? Would I need something closer to like the 55, or it
Lens.
wouldn't even? Yeah.
So what I would do, I think still the because the lenses are adjustable. I would say the adjustable ones are the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I think still an 18 to 55 would be great.
Mm-hmm.
What you would need to do is just set the camera farther back and
Mm-hmm.
then zoom in on the camera actually a little bit closer to you.
Mm-hmm.
So with them being adjustable, you're able to zoom in and focus. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I would recommend. So kind of I looked at your setup right now when you showed it, and it's about 2 feet in front of you, the camera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you could get that back another like foot,
Mm-hmm.
and then just zoom in on you, that would give you
Yeah.
a nice bokeh.
Which I think leads us to how in the heck do you get? Because that's the question I've had. How in the heck do I get my DSLR to stream directly? Because so you guys sort of saw this, but so I have this camera which is not plugged in right now. I have this camera, which is one of the ones that you actually have on your guide.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, $99. I'll actually show you guys how it changes when I have the camera. But so, how do I get my DSLR, which we have, to actually stream to my computer to like Zoom? That's not been something I've been able to figure out.
Yeah, so they have this really easy to use piece of equipment called a cam link.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just go on Amazon and or type in cam link, the brand name
Mm-hmm.
is Elgato,
Mm-hmm.
Elgato.
Mm-hmm.
So an Elgato cam link, and that's going to convert the HDMI signal from your camera into USB so that you can plug it directly into your computer.
Okay. Okay. So Elgato. I'm trying to show you guys here the difference.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
also in my guide too, so you can click on
so
that
that's
in the
how you do
guide.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see if I can show you guys what this other camera would look like. It should be. And I know, uh, Inonge, you asked the question as a newbie, what can I use to change my background? Any software for that?
Yeah, so if you want to change your background, I assume you mean like a digital background. So the first thing you're definitely going to want is a green screen. It's I know Zoom and some other softwares do it without a green screen, but it just looks wonky and you get kind of distorted when you move,
Yeah.
and it's just not a professional look. So get a green screen. I have options for green screens in my guide as well. So you'll want to invest in that. And then actually I didn't get to it, but one of the other useful softwares that I'll share here is the one on the right here. It's called mm-hmm. I have to say it like that every time because that's the way it is spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it's a Zoom friendly enhancer. You can do a lot of fun things in that software. It's really easy to use.
Oh,
You can
that's
change your
awesome.
background. You can make yourself small and kind of jump around, and it really adds like some fun effects that you can
Oh, that's
incorporate into
awesome.
into anything that you do.
Because I know that with Zoom, so you guys are now seeing my other camera. So that what I don't like about this, because it's just like one of these webcams, is I can't like zoom in and zoom out on it. So it just puts in a lot more. Like you
It
guys
has a
can just
little
see a
bit
lot.
of it has a little bit of a fisheye lens, so it's capturing
Yeah,
more than your other camera.
yeah. So I feel like in terms of the intimacy, it like takes away. So I would have to be pretty close to you guys, but that would be. I mean, it's just higher quality. You guys can
Mm-hmm.
probably tell it's higher
I
quality.
saw it autofocus right there too. So it has an autofocus
Yeah,
feature on it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna disconnect that because right now it's not at the right height.
Yeah.
Um, but um, so that's for you guys to see. Okay, so I was talking about Zoom. So with Zoom, you're right. Like if I'll even show you guys. So if I wanted to change my backdrop, here we are, a little bit more personal. Okay, so if I wanted to change my background, and I wanted to go to background filters. And I wanted to say like I look I look like a zombie. Uh, like that's you
Yeah.
don't
And let me see
you
if I can let me do the same for mine so you can see the difference.
here I'll go to San Francisco. There we go. Do you guys see?
Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah, you see the difference? So mine has a green screen and I'm just using Zoom right now, so my software is off for my with my hardware. So this is all software, and so I can move around and it's not distorted.
Yeah,
And Luce has something in her teeth.
yeah. I have all the things in my teeth.
Oh
Okay, so
my
let's
gosh.
get rid of that because that's very scary. Okay, so without something special, your Zoom backgrounds might look like mine just did. So the thing that you just talked about, would it take get rid of that, or do I still need a green screen?
You still need a green screen. Yep,
Got it.
because I mean, what a green screen does, it allows any sort of software to be like, anything that's that color, take it out,
Yeah,
right? If you because your background is so colorful,
yeah.
that's why Zoom is having a hard time. It's like, what color do I focus on?
Ah,
There's a lot of colors. Holy crap!
got it.
So it doesn't know which to take out. It's guessing which isn't a human, right? It's like, I don't, that's red's
Mm,
kind of close. I don't, okay, that's weird. Maybe don't show that. So when you have a
mm,
green screen, it's just like, just that one color can just disappear. It
got
makes
it.
it really easy for the software. So any software that you're using,
It's
you'll
still
want to
gonna
use a
do
green
better
screen.
with a green
Hmm.
screen. Okay. And so in terms of green screen, so because I've gone on Amazon and tried to figure out like, well, what do I need? So it's literally just like a sheet, right? It's just like a piece of cloth that's green.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. See, it's just a drape. It's
yeah.
just a drape that you have. There's different kinds. Like in my guide, there's ones that pop up from the ground. There's ones that come with their own hardware. There's the one that I have. I bought for like $30, and you can literally just hang it from the ceiling. But I had hardware, so I was able to hang it from my
Mhm.
hardware.
Mhm.
But the two things you'll want to think about with the green screen: one, it needs to be lit correctly. So if
Mm.
you're if you're light if you don't have front facing lighting, it does not work good.
Mm.
So you need to have the green screen lit
Mm.
evenly, right? As even as
Mm.
possible. If I have
Mhm.
wrinkles, I could even show you. So see, as soon as there starts to get like wrinkles, you can start to see weird stuff happening
Mhm.
in the color.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
you'll
Yeah, yeah,
want to
yeah.
make sure that it's as flat as possible and that it's lit correctly. So those
Mhm.
two, once you have those two things set, other than that, it doesn't matter what kind of green screen you have as long as it
Awesome.
covers the entire backdrop.
Awesome. Cool. All right, questions do you guys have about looking great? So we talked about bokeh, which is like blurry background. We talked about cameras. We talked about connecting straight to your DSLR. If you don't know what a DSLR is, which I remember at some point, I don't know what a DSLR is. It's just one of those fancier cameras, the big ones. Do you have a DSLR you can show?
Yeah.
I think DJ Drew has one he can show us. There we are.
So yeah, here's a DSLR right here. This is the one I have. This is the Canon SL3.
Yeah. Awesome. That middle one sounds super cool. Can we talk about that one?
Yeah, so that's the Mevo. Let me get out of the way again. So this is a Mevo camera. This just came out as also in 2020, so it's a pretty new piece of equipment. Um, I've had a Mevo camera before. I had the older version. This is the new one. There's a lot of cool things it can do. So it's $380. It plugs right into your computer, and it comes with an app. And the cool thing about the app is you can preset different scenes, so the Mevo camera can focus on certain points of the room. So, for instance, if you had it loose, you could set one scene where it would zoom in on that elephant you have in the background. If you wanted to show that for any reason, and you click a button on the app, and it zooms in on that elephant, and then it will zoom back out. And then you can have another scene that maybe you have Matt right next to you, and once he's talking, you can press that button, and it would zoom in on him. So you have different angles. And it also has a cool feature if you're into any movement,
Yeah,
and if you teach
that's
any
the thing
movement,
that I find exciting.
then you're able to tell the app to follow you. And so it has integrated artificial intelligence that will kind of follow you around the room and just keep you in frame, so you don't have to worry about going out of frame. So it's pretty.
You also don't need a drone following you around in your house.
Yeah, exactly. Or hire a videographer to get up close and personal. So,
Uh-huh.
so it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a great piece of equipment. Again, that it is software based. It's not perfect by any means. It does the best that it can. I've played around with that one and the Facebook version of it, the portal, and they both do a pretty good job. If you're running from back and forth to the room, it's not going to follow you. But if you're doing something like yoga, where it's like very slow movements, then it'll keep you in frame constantly. So pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked cameras, and I think when it comes to a basic high quality webcam, this is basically what you guys are looking at. Something like this. Again, we talked about the differences of with something like this, you can't really zoom in. It's going to get more of the background. You will have a crisper, it'll be a crisper experience. But I personally don't find that I think that there's something homey about like this less high-tech experience that it's more intimate, even though it's lower tech. Sometimes there are so many things that we can do that are lower tech that actually can work better for you. I know that. So we've been talking about cameras. Let's talk about the ultimate camera. Can we talk about this camera? Right? So you guys might be thinking, oh my God, I need to spend $1,100,000,000 on all this equipment. And so often there are so many things that can be solved with this thing right here. Like all you need is, hear me out. If you are a coach, an expert, an author, whoever, and you're trying to create a business by which you are online and you are teaching to people, you just need one thing to get your business off the ground. It's this. It might be helpful if you also have a computer, right? Which you probably already do, or have some sort of like the two. But if you have this, if you guys have been following us, most of our pictures, yes, we have the fancy DSLR. Like as soon as you have, I think, extra equipment, it just creates more work. And I'm all about the least amount of work that is needed for you to be profitable. And so I have the super fancy camera, but honestly, most of our pictures come from this. A lot of our videos, even like videos for ads, come from this. And like we were just talking about, there's something more intimate, going back to that speed to trust. There's something more intimate about this interaction where it's not the fancier camera. And then there's something intimate about an iPhone experience video that can work really well. And your iPhone can also function as a microphone often. We didn't talk about that. What are some of the applications for your phone to be a microphone?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're just posting like a video and you're going live or something, the the microphone on the phone is going to be great most of the time. I would also suggest like you have the headphones. Even that's an upgrade to
Yeah,
just using this microphone.
yeah,
Other than that, like I said, the Rode would be the next investment up, but really, like that's only if you're a mobile creator and you're on the go and that's where you're creating your content.
yeah,
Otherwise, I would do a lot of it, invest more in the home studio aspect.
yeah.
But if you are on the go and that's where you like to, that's where you're most comfortable, then yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
go that route, and you can go wireless
Mm-hmm.
there. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, they have whole like really cool mounts that you can have for your phone where you
Mm-hmm.
put your phone on a mount. It has lighting on the mount. It has a microphone, on the mount.
Huh.
I can't remember what it's called, but I saw an ad for it and I was like, this is cool. They
Hmm.
know who they're targeting, all right. I was like, ooh, new
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I saw that. That just came out. And that's really cool. Like do it yourself, so you don't have to hold it. Right, you put it on a tripod,
Yeah.
and you can go that direction as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
So,
yeah, you're absolutely right. Like done is better than perfect, and you don't need
yes,
to overcomplicate it.
any day.
Yes.
Any day. We want you guys going out there and getting clients and being profitable. And this is like the extra, right? You with your message, with your gift, like, okay, let's there's the basics. You actually do have to cover some basics. You have to look good enough. But and with something like if you have a phone of any kind, unless if you have a flip phone that doesn't have a camera, then you're in trouble, right? But if you have like a good enough phone with a good enough camera, which most phones out there have a good enough camera, you're gonna be okay. And so we want you guys to get out there, share your message. And once you're really getting to that, okay, I'm really serious about becoming a 6+, 7+ figure coach, then like your branding really does start becoming a lot more important. There is a basis of you want to make sure that your online presence is good. But the thing that we one thing I don't want you guys to think it's like, oh my God, I have to be rich to be able to make these things happen. No, you don't. Like the basic thing that you need is potentially a computer, a phone, you're good. You can build a coaching business, you can build an expert's business, and you can make 6 figures from just those two devices, just a computer and a phone. Now, if you want to start getting more fancy and you want to start upgrading, we're talking about those upgrades. We're talking about how do you make it an even better experience. But we don't want that to be an excuse as to why you're not getting out there and doing the work and getting clients, because that is
Absolutely.
not our message here.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think last thing that I want us to cover, and if you guys have any questions that you're like, please tell, I got this like super, like you have to answer this question, let us know in the comments. I think so far we've answered all of your questions. So before we wrap things up, can we talk virtual events? Okay, so let me bring a little bit of context, which is I just give you such kudos, and not a surprise that you got DJ award, DJ of the year for the Bay Area DJ Association, or the
Yeah.
California, whatever it was, the DJ Association of all DJs in the whole wide world and the universe. This could have been a really scary, I guess last year could have been a really scary, and it was a very scary year for DJs, because DJs went from mostly in-person events, and you worked in an in-person industry, to where it was like, oh, I think there's not going to be events. I remember being in events with you and being like, it's going to be a couple of months, and then like we're here and it's been a year since that happened. It's been over a year, and all like in-person events are still not happening, right? So DJs and people who did in-person events all of a sudden had to really shift how they did business. And you had to shift how you did business. And you did so
Hmm.
incredibly. And that's where now you support incredible coaches doing virtual events. So let's talk about virtual events and what are the benefits. What is exactly a virtual event? Are there any like hybrids? Like what's the spectrum in terms of like, especially in today's world, in person, to I know that sometimes you create studios, or you go somewhere and like you help with the studio setup. and then totally virtual. Like, so let's talk virtual events.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just celebrated like a full year of
Yeah.
being in this craziness, and yeah, of course, it was totally scary just being
Yeah.
there and not knowing what's going to happen. I had
Yeah.
all of my events canceled within a week,
Yeah.
and it was just like devastating. And
Yeah.
what what really kept me going was just continuing to look at the possibilities and to focus on what I love to do. I didn't know what it
Mm-hmm.
was going to look like. I could not have guessed a year later that I would
Mm-hmm.
be totally just a pro at virtual events and
Mm-hmm.
running them all over the world. And it's incredible. But yeah, absolutely. There are different kinds of virtual events, so we'll talk about each one, um, and what kind of they are. So this is how I separate the three types of virtual events. So the first is remote. This is where everyone, including all of your attendees and all of your team, are all in just their own remote locations. It's business on top and sweatpants on the bottom. We're rocking the events from our homes, and really creating an engaging experience where everyone can come together as a community, have an incredible time together, and still be able to connect while being in the comfort of and safety of our own homes. The next is a professional studio support. So this is where some of the pictures that I've shown, where we would come to you and we build out studios. I know I have some pictures in here where we build a studio for you so that you can feel comfortable as a speaker being on a stage, being able to see all of your attendees at once, having some of the speaker tools that you may be used to, like your notes in
Mm-hmm.
front of you for your presentations,
Mm-hmm.
timers. You can see the chat in front of you on a larger screen,
Hmm.
and even notes from your team. So just the tools that may help you if you are a professional speaker and you're used to that stage and you want to create an up leveled experience.
Mm-hmm.
When participants can see that they're in. I mean, we have camera angles for each of these, so we show this
Mm-hmm.
angle and it's like, yeah, look, hey, look at yourselves all together in this one place, on
Mm.
all together for this one purpose,
Yeah.
here together. Like, you may be in your homes, but look, we are here.
Mm-hmm.
We're in this together. So that sort of look
Mm-hmm.
is it has been really really cool. And then the last piece is the hybrid event, and that's what we're starting to look at now as we start to get back to some in-person style, and
Yeah.
but there's so much benefit to having a
Yeah.
virtual event that
Yeah.
that's not going away now. I mean,
COVID completely changed the future of events.
absolutely. Yeah. It changes the whole scope. I mean, and it's working for a lot of
Yeah.
coaches out there. It is working.
Yeah.
They're making, more money at events than they were at in person. And so that they've made that transition, and they're considering not going back now. I mean, they have
Yeah.
their pros and cons,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, but that's why I'm really excited about the hybrid, is because
Yeah.
it involves you having like a select, maybe VIP
Mm-hmm.
experience for those that do want to make it out and do want to be in person, because
Mm.
there is no
Mm.
recreating that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're
Mm-hmm.
still
Yeah.
able to have the virtual element of, I can attract people from all over the world that may not be able to travel and can still fully participate
Mm-hmm.
and be a part of this experience we're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tony Robbins, who is like the creator of coaching, basically he started the coaching industry. He's been in coaching for 42 years, and he had said, "Never, I will never take my events online." And then COVID happened. He had, like events canceled all over the world, and he just held his first 300,000 person event, right? And like that wouldn't have been possible had COVID not happened, right? And so you can bet you that like Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard and Rachel Hollis and you name it, like big name, like virtual events and hybrid virtual events, like it's not going away. Russell Brunson, like everybody switched and pivoted into some sort of like hybrid or some sort of virtual event, and so that is here, with us. And again, if you guys ever have questions or want someone to support you, cannot recommend Andrew's services enough.
Yeah, there are different types of events. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge 3 day big thing. I do a lot of those where it's an enrollment event and we want to get to know, we want to get intimate. We want them to be a part of the community and see what that's like. But I've also done a lot of like 1 day summits that
Mm-hmm.
are really powerful where, business owners don't always have 3 days to commit, but they can
Yeah.
commit 1 day to being there and just going and diving deep. And maybe it's even a 3 hour workshop or a 4 hour
Mm-hmm.
workshop, and you invite
Mm-hmm.
your ideal clients to collaborate there, or a mastermind group. So
Mm-hmm.
an event could look, there's a ton of different ways that it can look,
Mm-hmm.
but virtual is here. And so
Mm-hmm.
making sure that there's that experience element to it is really
Mm-hmm.
important no matter what it is.
And you get rid of, like, you make sure that the people running the show are able to do what they do best, which is the coaching, the teaching, the creating their experience, and you make sure that, like, the behind the scenes, it all runs smoothly.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want them worrying about any of the tech. I tell them, you show up and you deliver your amazing content and connect. Everything else
Mm-hmm.
gets handled. We're doing all of the spotlighting, all of the videos that need to be played, getting
Mm-hmm.
them engaged, dropping links,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with them in chat, answering questions, all of the behind the scenes pieces that go into an event, we take care of, so that yeah, that the speaker can just show up and just focus on that delivery and the amazing content.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Um, So, and if someone, like, who's the right person to work with you? Like, if someone's like, oh, I'm thinking of putting on a webinar, or I'm thinking of putting on a workshop, a 3 hour workshop, I'm thinking of putting on like a seminar or something, like an event, like, who would be the right person where you're like, yeah, no, we can definitely support you.
Yeah, so coaches and entrepreneurs who are hosting virtual events. It can be as little as an hour and up to three. I've done even 5 day events. Those of you that are hosting events that are really interested in creating an experience and not just another,
Mm-hmm.
meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a Zoom meeting. If you want something
Mm-hmm.
really basic, then
Yeah.
you maybe don't need support. But if you want
Mm-hmm.
it to be an experience, that there's production involved, there is engagement pieces, there are some of the elements that take it to the next level. That's who I'm interested in working with. Those that
Mm-hmm.
value the experience rather than just the meeting aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, guys, we got to the end. Is there anything else in terms of visuals that we completely missed that you think we should cover?
No, we covered. I think we covered everything. Yeah. There's a lot there. There's definitely some extra tips in my guide that I would love
Yeah.
that I'm going to be sharing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have any questions about that, yeah, just let
Mm-hmm.
me know.
So if you guys want the gift, just write gift in the comments and we will share that with you. I will put the link in the comments and I'll also add it to the description here so you guys can access it easily. Last question for you, DJ Drew, is what is the legacy that you're looking to leave behind in the world? And what's ahead for you in the next 3 to 5 years?
Hmm. Love that question. The legacy that I'm here to leave is to impact millions of lives, to continue to drive this personal development train forward, to empower millions of people through self-belief, through doing the work, through the power of the entrepreneur, and through the power of music and being able to connect to our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen. Awesome. Well, if we can all give a huge thank you to DJ Drew, to Andrew C Ybarra. That's why you need all these things, guys. So you can press a button and you get that. I need one of those. Awesome. Well, Drew, it was such a pleasure, an honor having you on the show. It's been such an honor working with you. And there are big, big things ahead of you. You are changing lives. You are, that's why we do what we do, is because what we do allows people to change lives. You do the same thing. You work with people who change lives. And so, all of you that are here, I mean, gosh, if you're here because you're a coach or you're an expert or you're a trainer or you're somehow trying to make this world a better place. And I get emotional. I'm like, okay, what a better time to be together in this, right? To stand for something that matters. And all of you that are part of this community, like, you're here because you're standing for something that matters. And so know that we will stand with you and for you for as long as you keep standing for yourself and for your clients. Like, that is our commitment. DJ Drew has been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing the work for a decade. We've been doing this work, for, gosh, I mean, like, branding I've been doing for 10 years, but like this specifically for like over 5. And we're not going anywhere. Like, we are committed to your success. Our successes, our joys, are making the world a better place for both of us comes from you sharing your gift, from you doing well, from you being profitable, from you monetizing, from you having incredible experiences. So just remember that this is your tribe, this is your community. You're a magnate. You are working on becoming, you're magnetized and monetized, and we will be here for you every step of the way. So thank you, DJ Drew. It is such an honor to work with you. And
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate, you creating this awesome community. I appreciate you as a friend, as a mentor, as your DJ. And
yeah,
I thank you for allowing me to share my gifts here with everyone and spread more of about what I'm doing. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for being who you are. And let me know when you print some of those shirts. I need one of those shirts.
Absolutely. We just bought some shirts. And we're going to be printing more. So you guys just let us know which ones you want. And we're going to start creating a little online store, which is super exciting.
Nice.
But yes, we'll be sharing some. Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing your gifts. Thank you for being here. Keep inviting people who are doing big things, changing the world. We're coaches, consultants, experts who are using their gift so we can keep raising the human consciousness, which is really what coaching is. So we love you guys. I will catch you again soon. Our next interview is next week. We are going to be talking about podcasting. So we went from audio and visuals. Next week, we're going to be talking about podcasting and best practices for you to become a guest on podcast easily. So that's coming up next. You can find us here in our Facebook group. Every single Wednesday we go and we teach. And if you want support in monetizing as a coach, if you are ready to commit and say, I am no longer doing this as a hobby, I am tired of struggling on bringing on clients. If you're ready to take things to the next level, just give us a call. We're here for you. We help coaches monetize. And until then, this is the High Ticket Coach Mastery Show. Bye, everybody.